It's Friday, everyone. What do we do on Fridays here at the Hint Hive? That's right, we smash the patriarchy. Hey there, beautiful souls, and welcome back to the Hint Hive, Amplifying Women's Voices, where we break down the walls of silence and power up our collective voices. I'm Kelly Hint, Queen Bee of this particular hive, your guide, your fellow rebel, and today we're diving into something raw, something fierce, something that often gets shamed, shut down, or ignored. Our anger. All right, before we jump into the topic of the day, I just want to give a shout out to all my listeners and thank you so much, as always, for giving me a piece of your time every week. It has come to my attention through a couple of messages that I also have some gentlemen that are out there listening to the podcast. And it always surprises me when I hear that because this podcast is written specifically for women, and I love that there are so many men that I'm getting messages from that are telling me that this has been very, very helpful for them in their relationships with the women in their lives. So kudos to my male allies who are listening with an open mind and not getting defensive and pissy. I really appreciate that. And let me tell you, so do the women in your life. Because you know what? We got enough going on. We don't need to deal with being misunderstood by every single person in our lives. So it is fabulous when men are making the effort to try and understand us a little bit more. So shout out to you guys listening. I really love and appreciate your effort. All right, let's get this show on the road. Now, ladies, let's get real for a second. How many times have you been told, calm down, don't be so emotional, or you're overreacting? And how many times have you swallowed that fire inside because you didn't want to be seen as the angry woman? Well, today we are tearing up that rule book. We are reclaiming our right to rage. That's right. We are talking about the power of women's anger, how it's been demonized, how it's been controlled, and why it's time to own it, use it, and understand it as one of the most transformative forces that we have. So, grab your coffee, your wine, your water, your tea, or whatever powers you up today, because this conversation is going to light some fires. Fires we should never feel the need to put out. All right, so let's start with a little history lesson, shall we? Women's anger has been policed for centuries. Yes, centuries. I'm not just being dramatic here. Think about it. From the witch hunts, where women who dared to stand up and fight back to be different were burned, to modern day, when we're labeled as hysterical or difficult for simply expressing dissatisfaction. You can't tell me that there isn't a system in place to keep us quiet. We have been conditioned to be the peacekeepers, the fixers, the ones who maintain harmony at all costs. But here's the thing. When you suppress your anger, when you force it down and push it aside, it doesn't just disappear. It festers. It builds. It turns into guilt, depression, and anxiety. And I know so many of you listening have felt that. And if you're thinking, but I don't get angry, I hear you, honeybee, but I challenge you to think again. Do you suppress frustration at work? Are you swallowing your truth in your relationships? That's still anger, just unexpressed. We have been socialized to be nice instead of real. And that's where the problem starts. For those of you who have listened to this podcast before, you know that I'm a psychotherapist. And I often see this so often in my work. Women who come in because they're exhausted, feeling hopeless, losing touch with themselves. And you know what happens when we dig deep? We uncover unspoken rage. Rage at partners who don't see them, at workplaces that exploit them, at family dynamics that suffocate them. But most tragically, rage at themselves for buying into the narrative that they need to stay small, quiet, and good. And let's be honest, the world's view of female anger is straight up sexist. Think about it. When men get mad, they're assertive, they're strong, they're leaders. But when we do it, we're irrational, we're emotional, we're hysterical, we're dangerous. Well, I say screw that double standard. Anger isn't the enemy. It's a message. It's fuel. It is telling us that something isn't right and that we deserve better. Let's flip the script, ladies. What if we saw our anger as a tool, as a compass, as a righteous call to action? But here's the truth. Anger does not make us unhinged. It makes us aware. It's a signal that we have hit a boundary, that something needs to change. When we listen to it instead of burying it, we step into our power. We become not only fierce advocates for ourselves, but also for others who have been silenced. I can tell you from personal experience, I have stepped into my power. That's why I'm here doing this podcast, because I am sick and tired of women being less than, and I want to fire up all of the women listening and our male advocates and our non-binary friends. I want us all to band together to fight for the right to be who we are. I want to talk about this idea of righteous rage. This isn't about flying off the handle or yelling at people, although sometimes we might need to let it out like that. It's more about recognizing the injustice behind your anger and using that fire to transform. Women's anger has always been a catalyst for change. Think of the women's suffrage movement, civil rights, the fight for equal pay. Women who got mad, and I mean furious, are the ones who pushed the boundaries, broke the chains, and created shifts that generations after them have benefited from. Now, you don't have to start a revolution. Though, hey, if that's your path, more power to you. And P.S., let me know if you're starting a revolution, because I will be right there on the front lines with you. But besides war, besides the revolution, I want to tell you that you can reclaim your anger in small, everyday ways that build up your confidence and self-worth. Speak up in that meeting where you're usually silent. Tell that friend who crosses your boundaries how it makes you feel. Advocate for yourself at the doctor's office when your pain or your needs are dismissed. Here's a little homework for you. Think about something that has been bothering you. Something that pisses you off, but you haven't given yourself permission to truly feel. Maybe it's a sexist comment at work. Maybe it's your partner not pulling their weight, or maybe it's something societal, like the gender wage gap or access to healthcare. Let that anger rise. Sit with it. Don't judge it or try to shut it out. Instead, ask yourself, what is this anger telling me? What is it revealing about what I need, what I value, and what I deserve? And then, let's get real badass. Ask yourself, what am I going to do with this? Maybe it's having a tough conversation. Maybe it's joining a cause. Or maybe it is simply just saying no to something that you have been tolerating for far too long. Whatever it is, take one step today, however small, to honor your anger. Now, I'm not saying you need to walk around all angry all the time. That's not the point. The point is to allow yourself to feel what you're feeling without apology. Anger, like every emotion, has its place. It's a force for good when we channel it with intention, when we let it motivate us to create better boundaries, to demand more respect, and to refuse to be silenced. Let's stop calling ourselves crazy for being mad. Let's stop apologizing for having standards. Let's stop thinking that we need to be nice before we can be powerful. We can be kind, yes, but we can also be fierce. And guess what? Those two things can and do exist together. You can love fiercely and still hold people accountable. You can lead with compassion and still refuse to be treated unfairly. You can be strong and soft and angry, and it's all valid. Now, if there are any men listening to this, you may not understand why women are angry. And I encourage you to ask them, to simply ask, or to educate yourselves, or to do your research. Because I can tell you what I'm angry about, but I can't tell you what every woman is angry about. Some of the things that I'm angry about are common amongst many women, but some of the things are very personal and to me only. And some of the things I'm angry about don't make other women angry. That's the beauty of individuality. For example, I'm angry about the world we live in today. I can't seem to get through it because I've been biting my tongue for so long. I've been trying to be someone. Okay, I was trying to be someone for the first part of my life. And then I woke up and I came into my power and I allowed myself to feel the things that make me angry. And that in turn set me free because you know what? I'm allowed to feel the feelings that I feel. I'm allowed to disagree with people in, quote, power. I'm allowed to disagree with and be angry at supervisors, family members, governmental authorities. I'm allowed to feel these feelings. When somebody tries to impose their will upon me, I am allowed to feel however I feel. And I'll tell you what, I'm angry about the fact that women don't have control over their own bodies in so many places in society. And this one is not going to come as a surprise to anyone who's listened to any other podcast. But as a therapist, I am angry that there are little girls out there who are being sexually assaulted by men, impregnated by them at times, and being forced to give birth to that vile, vile act of violence, that vile sin that was committed against them. They're being forced into another trauma because all of you people on the right that have gone so far to the right that you have lost your compassion for a child who's been sexually assaulted, and you allow this disgusting act to be retold into something beautiful, well, I'm sorry, but screw you. If you don't know what it's like to be assaulted by a man as a child, then you have no business even having a thought in your head about this. And yeah, you're hearing my anger right now. And you know what? If it's making you uncomfortable, I think you need to take a beat and ask yourself why my anger is making you uncomfortable. Is it because you're relating to my anger? Or is it because you're one of these people who want to force a little girl to have a child of rape? Because let me tell you, that decision is that girl's and that girl's alone. It is not up to the medical community. It is not up to the pastor. It is not up to the parent. It is not up to the perpetrator. It is up to that little girl and that girl alone as to whether or not she wants to subject herself to a second trauma of childbirth. And you know what else I'm mad at? I'm mad that any emotion that I express makes certain individuals uncomfortable just because I'm a woman expressing it. That makes me mad. It also makes me mad that women have been constantly given more and more and more expectations, and nothing is being taken off of our plate. And then when we finally lose our minds and we freak out because we can't handle it anymore, we're looked down upon. Yeah, that's the kind of stuff that makes me mad. And so I wonder how many of you out there have been stuffing all of this inside of you. How many of you out there have put the smile on your face because that's what we're told to do? Just smile. Put a smile on your face. When was the last time you heard somebody tell a man to put a smile on their face? I've never heard that personally. I would love to hear stories about that. The other thing that I'm incredibly mad about is the disgusting racism in this country. Yeah, okay, we have made some strides, I'll give you that. We've come a little way, but we haven't come all the way. Because when George Floyd was murdered before our very eyes, there was a long list of white people in my life coming up with excuses for that disgusting, heinous act. I watched people in my life who I love say the most vile, hateful things about that poor man. I don't care if he had a police record or not. I don't care about any of that. I care that there was a human being who deserved to go before a judge, to hear a judge discuss his supposed crimes. I'm mad that that was taken away from him, that his life was taken away from him, that a police officer thought that he could be judge, jury, and executioner, and so many freaking white people thought it was okay. It disgusts me. And I'm mad because I tried to educate the people in my life about racism and about privilege, and nobody wanted to hear it. Nobody had compassion about the message that I was trying to convey. So yeah, I'm mad about that too. You know what? I feel like the list of things that I'm mad about is so ridiculously long because I kept my mouth shut for so long. But I have found the freedom in identifying what makes me angry and getting it out, expressing it, and doing something about it. Because I found a clarity that I never had before. It's almost like I had chains on my wrist that snapped. And I know a lot of people can relate to this. The pandemic changed our lives in so many ways, because during that pandemic, there was so much happening. It was like blow after blow after blow, just constantly. And I'm not the only woman who snapped and said, enough is enough. I'm done. I just wish it didn't take me so long. So if you are a woman in your 20s, in your 30s, in your 40s, don't wait until you're in your 50s, like me, before finally allowing yourself to be who you are. Ladies, I know it's scary because guess what? When we unleash the true power of who we are not always accepted, and that hurts. But guess what? The right people will stay in our lives. The right people will uplift and support us. And if people are pushing against you and they're not accepting you for who you are, they were not meant to be part of your inner circle anyway. I know firsthand how much it hurts when the people that you love more than anything don't accept you for exactly who you are. I get it. I've been there. I've done that. But you know what? This freedom to feel that anger towards them and the hurt, and to allow it to be felt by me, that is what freed me. And I encourage you, instead of running away from your anger, instead of suppressing it, feel it. Feel it and learn from it, and let it speak to you and guide you. Because at the base of your anger is something that needs to be changed. Whether it's your mindset towards something, or the relationships that you have, or even your very path in life. So to every woman listening, I'm begging you, reclaim your anger. Listen to it. Honor it. Know that your rage is not a weakness. It is a guide. It's a force that is meant to shake things up, to dismantle the systems that have kept us small, and to demand that the world sees us, hears us, and respects us. Now, I'm aware, ladies, that this episode was a bit dark. It was very heavy. It wasn't necessarily the uplifting episode that you were hoping for. But guess what? Sometimes we need this. Sometimes we need some real talk about some uncomfortable stuff. And I make no apologies. Because if me sharing my anger with you helps you to reclaim your anger, then I consider my work here done. To all of my hive listening today, If today's episode spoke to you, if it lit a fire inside of you, go out there and do something with it. Share this episode with your tribe. Talk about it with your sisters. Let me know how you felt about it. And most importantly, stand tall in your anger. You have the right to feel it, the right to express it, and the right to use it to change the damn world. As always, thank you so much for tuning in to the Hint Hive. I'm Kelly Hint, and until next time, keep being fierce. Keep being unapologetically you. And remember, our voices will always be louder than the systems that try to silence us. See you next week, my queens. This podcast is powered by Kelly Hint Empowerment Coaching, as well as Kelly M. Hint LMHC and The Cranky Counselor. To find out more about coaching services, head over to CoachKellyHint.com. If you'd like to know more about the psychotherapy services I offer to individuals within the state of New York, you can check out KellyMHint.com. And if you'd like to learn more about aromatherapy, you can check out TheCrankyCounselor.com.